Hello everyone, welcome along to Chargers TV. Yes, we're finally back after a small break, and of course we're going podcast version for this one, and of course in next week's episode we will be back in front of the camera. But for now, Ron Riggs, Justin Bryan alongside you here at Swisher Hoops Academy. Great to be down here at Swisher once again, and as I mentioned, Chobo, as we welcome you in, it's been a big couple of weeks for us, hence why we haven't done a show till now, but great to be back on the podcast here.
Great to be back on the podcast, Ronnie. We've had a bit of a wait, so to speak. Of course, the last time we joined everyone was following the Ringwood game over in Sorell, where the women went down narrowly by 2, men getting the win by 13. Of course, we had the King's birthday weekend break, thanks to King Charles for that one there.
Absolutely.
Then went on the road, of course, taking on Diamond Valley and Waverley, and of course, most recently at home to Nunawading and the Falcons. We figured that because there's been so much, Ronnie, it's probably easier for everyone to just whack the podcast on and have a listen to it rather than try and sort through us for what could be an arduous amount of time. So we're going to cover the 2 away games. We're going to cover the most recent home game, and we're going to have a look at what's going to be a pretty big weekend on the road as well, Ronnie.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's kick it off, JB.
Yep, we'll go over to Diamond Valley, the first game of the road trip returning for both sides. This was on June 17th. Of course, in the women, getting the win there, 89-67, a key victory for the hopes and dreams of the women's side heading forward towards finals as they continue to want to press forward. Of course, Kayla Steindl, huge in that one there, 23-17, having a typical Kayla game. Corey Coleman, 26-8. Paige Bradley, 16 and 11 assists for her as well, really having a good game. Sophie Burrows, the pick of the opposition there, 21 points with 5 rebounds, 2 steals there, and Jade Doon as well, 16 points. Of course, for the men, unfortunately, though, was their entire road trip, Ronnie, essentially a tale of 2 halves in both games. Had a really solid hit-out heading in towards half-time, and then just weren't quite able to hold on in the second half. Diamond Valley running over the top 10-point winners there, a 96-86. Devon Watson, though, bouncing back to form, 27 points, had 2 20-pieces over that weekend. Sam McDaniel, 19-5-5, Mr. Consistent himself. Callum Boucher, 14-4. On the other side of things, though, it was a pretty big game for Nor Miang, 22-7. BJ Simons, 14-11. Jock Perry, the former Jack Jumpers development player, he had 15-9. Mandrel Worthy, 19-4. And Eric Kafritz's 14-4 assists. When you've got that many scorers just piling the points on there, always going to be a tough one. Of course, on the Sunday, though, both sides taking on Waverley. Chargers women just falling a little short. Again, a bit of a lactic acid build in the legs. But, of course, to go 1-1 on the road compared to other seasons, Ronnie, quite an achievement there. And just a really, struggled in that second half. Of course, running away with it was the Falcons for Hobart there, backing up Paige Bradley. 18 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists there. Sarah O'Neill, 10 points, 5 assists. Corey Coleman, 14-6. On the other side of it, Carly Ernst, 25 points, really big. Maddie Uti, 16 points, 9 rebounds. And Amelia Todd Hunter, 14 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. Over in the men's game, the men looked really, really strong and, in fact, looked like they were going to run away comfortably with the game. But halftime certainly put the brakes on that one as Waverley thundered home to get the win by 8. For your Chargers, Devon Watson, 27 points once again, 10 rebounds. Sam McDaniel, a monster game, still unable to just get over the line, though. 31 points, 13 rebounds, 7 assists. Of course, 11-8 to the ever-consistent Jared Bairstow. Meanwhile, it was Dexter, of course, AJ Harris, the key player there, as always, as well, for Waverley. I just want to get the name correct on this one here. Dexter Kenrick Drew, a massive game for him, 37 points. Dylan Smith, 19-10. Tristan Forsyth, again, former Jack Jumpers injury player, 14-9 himself. AJ Harris kept reasonably quiet. 6 points, 3 rebounds, 3 steals, only managed around 19 minutes, but he was effective when he was on the floor. So, Ronnie, overall, I mean, we spoke about how key the road trip was for the women. It's probably just kept their hopes alive, but sort of a dagger into the back there, and, of course, the home game, a bit of a twist. But what did you make of that initial road trip to come back in? Felt like the women just ran out of legs in that second game, got the job done really well in the first, but for the men, really just proved to be a tale of two halves in both games, where they started really strong and just weren't able to finish the contest.
Yeah, absolutely, JB. I feel like, the women were right there and thereabouts, and some good things to take out of that. I mean, they're starting to gel now as a team as well too. Now a few games in with Corey Coleman now really settled into the lineup, and basically finals really start for the Chargers women's side right now, and it has been for the last couple of weeks. So it's important that the women now need to start winning. Especially these next, what have we got? 2, 4, 5. They need to win their next 5, literally. They need to get on a hot streak, win those 5, hopefully get some results to go their way, boost themselves up into the top 8. And then where does fate lie with them, really? So overall, it hasn't been too bad of a road trip there. And of course, they played it in Sorrel, and nearly won that one as well too.
Clear signs of growth and development, Ronnie, and from a team that we've saw over the last season, won 3 games, and we're clearly building on something to the season before. Yeah. Again, different units, different characters, all changes things left, right, and centre. But
absolutely,
it is clear that this team is on the up and up, and clearly has a finals trajectory, if not this year, definitely on the cards next year.
Yeah, and I think with the men too, just the inexperience of some of the boys that are coming up at the moment, but it's a good thing, and I feel that with that younger side coming in, that experience will come into play as the years go along. Now let's be real here. Some of these boys might be off to other places in the next few years, but at the moment, our depth is a little bit out of reach, so to speak. But it's good learnings for this young team right now. The veterans probably doing a tad too much. I feel like they need to probably trust the younger ones a little bit more, because
a lot of heavy lifting going on.
There's a lot of heavy lifting. You've got to give those youngsters an opportunity. If they knock them down, they knock them down. If they get them in, if they miss, they miss. It's all part of that growing up, that learning experience at the semi-elite level. And, the only way you're going to get better is if those youngsters get the ball and actually do something with the ball. But if the veterans of this team, who we know, will try and do it. Now, granted, they're trying to do the right thing, protect some of the youngsters, and, I'm going to put everyone on my back. That's all well and good. But understand there's a bigger picture to this whole program. We're not in it for a championship this year. We're really not. If we can get top 8 and play finals and get bundled out, say, week 1, week 2...
It's a bonus.
Okay, it's a bonus, right? So I feel that there needs to be some kind of change with some of these players, the older players is trusting these younger ones coming through, and we've seen some of the younger ones really come up leaps and bounds. Jordan Strasser got his first start last week.
Seeing the consistency of a Jordan Hill being able to get his run, someone
absolutely.
Like a Phoenix Roby, who's now gone on to bigger and better things himself.
Yeah, absolutely. So I feel like for the men, they have to win their next few as well too. Again, have results go your way, and then make sure that again, you're trying to get into that top 8, and then hopefully you might get through. But right now, realistically, we don't see both teams in finals. That's the realistic thing right now. I'm hoping both teams prove me wrong. I really do. But at the same time, we have to look at real facts here and go, well, it's going to be a tough task, nonetheless.
Absolutely. Of course, Ronnie, the next game for us was just the most recent home game that has just gone ahead, taking on the Nunawading Spectres. Of course, the women's side needing to get that win to continue to stay alive, keep the dream alive, continue to push, and they managed to get that done 91-80, a massive game for them in the context of their season. As we look across this one here, Kayla Steindl bouncing back into form once again, 37 of a possible 40 minutes. She just continues to prove what a superstar she is. 21 points, 13 rebounds, 4 steals. In fact, I actually heard the comment, Ronnie, that if you're going to put Kayla and Clint side by side, that you'd almost be starting to tick the box, a lot more boxes in Kayla's favour. And I'm not one to deny that. I did speak to her on the Saturday, actually having breakfast with her son following a bit of a cooling down session, and she was very much battered and bruised in what was a pretty physical contest. Yeah. Paige Bradley having her best game of the season at home, at least 25 points, 7 assists. Corey Coleman, 18 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. We got a post-game interview with her on the other side of things.
We do. Oh, that reminds me.
We'll get those those up at
We'll
some
get
point
those
during the
up.
week.
Yes, we will. Yes, Charlie.
Isabel Feller off the bench. Her and Brewster really contributing throughout that one. There, Isabel Feller, though. 24 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals. A big game for her, 9 of 14 shooting. Rachel Brewster, 23 points, 4 rebounds. Devon Brookshire, 9 points. 15 rebounds for her and 11 points to Cassidy Mahalko. A really big game there. And then, of course, on the other side of things, Ronnie in the men. Again, looked like they were going to be able to really push through. It was a three-quarter style game. Chargers really looking to control things. Just started to fade towards the end of that that game, and then outscored 2-1 in the final quarter. Unfortunately, going down 100-90. Devon Watson backing up once again. 25 points, 4 rebounds, 8 assists. Jacob Richards, knowing that he has been under a severe flu cloud, a massive game for him. 23.7 rebounds, 3 assists. Good night from the floor shooting for him. Jared Bairstow, solid double-double as always, 14 and 10. Geordie Hargrave back on his home court, 11 and 6. And Mike Carina, 11 and 5 as well. Ronnie, we'll start over, of course, with the women's game. Started out really strong. That third term, the Spectres really pushed them, really made it a ball game. Able to battle through in the fourth, match the physicality, match the tempo, have the young ones step up and deliver. Meanwhile, in the men, as we mentioned there, looked to be in control in that first half, started to really play some good basketball, but the Spectres, you could just sense every time they tried to make a run, they weren't able to get over the hump. But once they broke the proverbial damn wall, I mean, at one stage there, it was 84-81 when the Spectres really hit the lead, and they never looked to lose control of the rest of that game there. Ran away with a really solid win, and again, we talked about the daggers from the tough losses on the road from the bad second halves. It was pretty much twisting that dagger in the back there, you would have to say, almost for the season in that last quarter by the Spectres against Hobart.
Yeah. With that women's game, I felt like, Hobart come out guns blazing. I've never seen such a fantastic start for quite some time, and I've been around this club for near 20 years.
Red hot shooting.
Absolutely fantastic. You can't ask for much more than that. Really, get Nunawading on the wrong foot. Really do. They weathered the storm by Nunawading. I thought they did a really good job of just staying composed, not panicking too much, and they were able to hold on and win that one, which is really good character, confidence building. Win for the women's side. Meanwhile, on the men, again, really good start. Like how they come out, and in the second half, they just kind of, get to that third quarter. So for probably about, 32 minutes of that game, they were well in control. And in Nunawading, just proved why they are one of the top teams in the competition right now in that top 6. And, really, again, tested Hobart's depth. It's the depth of the Chargers that is a struggle, and again, it comes back to my earlier point around some of the veterans of the team trying to carry a little bit as well too.
Now, also to add to that as well, to be fair, Sam McDaniel is currently through his transition period at the moment up to Brisbane. Sam is obviously a clear crucial out, but as you mentioned there, in carrying a lot of that load, when it's time for those players to step up, when you're not necessarily as protected or you're expecting to take on that extra bit of baggage, if you haven't necessarily done it throughout the season, can be a difficult task.
Yeah, it can be. But I thought to the Chargers men's credit, they actually played well without Sam McDaniel. So they're really stepping up. I mean, it's good to have Mike Carina back in the lineup because he gives you that extra option down low and is really versatile down that low post move as well. So, I thought, again, wasn't too bad of a game. It was just the depth, and then Nunawading's experience just a run over the top of them in the last quarter. So we know the Chargers can play really well for X amount of minutes. It's just whether they can play for the full 40. That's the next test for this younger group. So, right now, going into the road trip this weekend, it's really interesting to see how they'll go on both ends, but what additions do we have coming in as I see my good friend Shaker walk past us. And
tell you what, if this place was, if we had 1,000 Shakers as members, Ronnie, we wouldn't need to staff it. An absolute legend in his own time.
Yeah, he's a good kid. I love him to death, and he's a student I coach at the Friends School as well too. Shout out to my crew there. But no, he's a good kid. But it's really important that when we come on this weekend's road trip, that it would be interesting to see what the Chargers can produce. But as I mentioned just before we go to shout out to Shaker, there was what additions will come back in? Is Callum Boucher healthy? Is
how's Will Ferguson?
How's Jacob Richards? You know, he's a little bit banged up, as we mentioned on the broadcast. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to tell.
Is Sam McDaniel down for the game?
Yeah, well, that's right. You know, is he still around? Like,
well, I would think Sam would still be around. I think at this point, certainly the road trip for him, you would think Sam may be available. But of course, as we know, with it's the big thing when you've got NBL players that are also on other parts of the country.
That's right.
That they've got to dedicate themselves, and I know Sam's sort of going through that move and stuff like that. And you've got to remember as well, Sam's bloody tired and bloody sore as well.
Oh, he is.
This is a guy who, if the team all of a sudden, and I'm looking at it now, they're 7 and 10.
Yeah.
If Sam's playing up in that top 5, top 4, we're talking an MVP caliber player.
Absolutely.
That's the level Sam's played to this year. So, as we mentioned, always good to hopefully have him about, but at the same time, a well-earned rest, and again, has to look for himself at times as well at that broader scope.
That too, and of course, Mike Carano won't be available for road trip this weekend either due to his commitments with the Police Academy, so he's only available for home games. So that will be a boost for the Chargers for their last 3 home games coming up, obviously against Mount Gambier, Keilor and Northwest. So, but a downer this weekend, obviously, because he can't make it.
Both sides, Ronnie, on the ladder, 7 and 10. The women at 13th based on general percentage. The men 14th based on general percentage. Of course, they are going to be in a bit of a dogfight. Of course, in the men, 3 games above 500 currently has you sitting in 8th position. So even if they are to run the table, that gets them 2 games above 500. You probably suggest, they'd need every result on the planet to go their way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Meanwhile, for the women, though, 8th position right now is 1 game above 500. If they are able to go, and get that 1 game above 500, they would pretty much have to, ideally they want to run the table, because if they were able to run the table, they go 2 games above 500. They wouldn't necessarily be relying as much on results. So I think the women are still a very minute outside chance. Men, not so much. As we go over, as you mentioned there, Ronnie, to the road trip. Casey Cavaliers on the Friday night. They will be a really tough, on the Saturday night, I should say, 6:30 in Casey there. And, of course, for your men, 8:30 there. I'm just going to quickly bring up Casey's team here, their numbers, their stats, etc. Of course, in the men's ladder there, Casey second last, so this is a game to sort of keep the dream alive for the men. Meanwhile, over in the women, as our computer decides to load our stats prompting up here. Casey are down at the bottom as well. So that's not a bad way to necessarily start that Friday night. But it is going to be key on the Saturday, but it is going to be key, Ronnie, that, this is the side that we're sort of circling. This is the side that we feel we can potentially get a win with. But at the same time, you've got to understand this is a team that genuinely has nothing to play for and would love nothing more than to disrupt another team's finals hopes and aspirations, something that the Chargers themselves have been able to do over a number of years.
Yeah, very true. And, you're either going to now try and play spoiler, or you're going to try and do both. Be spoiler and try and make a run here at the top 8. Like I say, I think they're 2 gettable games. I really think they do. As long as they can play consistent 4 quarters of basketball, I think they've got it in the bag. And really looking forward to seeing how they go. Obviously, I'll miss a little bit of Saturday night due to coaching commitments at Lorraine with the road games this weekend in the TJJL.
Teachable JBL?
Yeah, something like that. Something like that, JB. But, I'll be really keen to see how both teams do. I really do. So, hoping for both teams to go 2-0.
Of course, as we look at the statistics for the Casey men, 74 points a game, 39 rebounds a game, 13.5 assists. Patrick Emelin is clearly their leading scorer at 23.2 a game. Malcolm Bernard, Preston Bungie, as well as City Jeet leading the way there. We'll go and check on their women's numbers as well. if I can get my typing done correctly. We are
Yep.
we are running overtime here, ladies and gentlemen.
We are.
72 points a game, 38 boards, 16 assists, so a bit better on their ball movement, not as great on the glass. Rachel Bell, Lauren Van Clunen, Jacinta Beckley and Ezra McGoldrick are the leading scorers there. They'll be the key people to be focusing on there. On the other side of things, though, we go over to Sandringham, Ronnie, who are looking to really try and make a bit of a run of it themselves. They haven't been too bad. That'll be on the Sunday. Of course, they are just having a look at this. They actually have a bit of a split round, Ronnie. Friday night, they'll be taking on Nunawading. Then Sunday, they will be taking on Hobart. So, for Hobart here, yes, Sandringham are going to have the break, but they're also on a back-to-back. You're on a back-to-back. Not saying that it's a gettable game, but you've got to look at this as an opportunity to, wow, let's really upset them here. Let's catch them not as warm as we think we would normally get them and try and make the most of this opportunity.
Yeah, I think they're gettable. As much as they've got a really good team on paper as well too, JB, I think there's a cause of an upset brewing. I really do. But for Sandringham, really, they've got a really good stack side, and they've got a youngster in the name of Campbell Blogg, who's the development player at Melbourne United, but it has certainly shown a lot of potential this year within the Coles Express NBL1. So I still think I just have this gut feeling they're going to pull off an upset, really give them some momentum going up against their arch rivals in Mount Gambier next Friday night in a grand final replay, of course, in the South Conference. So I'll be interested to see. I mean, I don't think I'll be able to tune in. I'll be tuning in probably remotely somewhere because, again, my Sunday schedule is just through the roof right at the moment, JB. So, But when you got a team that's 13-4 and averaging 92.8 there, it's a scary feeling right now. But I just have this gut feeling.
Absolutely. Of course, in the men's, as Ronnie mentioned, 92.8 points a game, 47.5 boards as well. They don't mind scoring. They don't mind grabbing a board as well. Of course, Dane Pinot, 14.1 rebounds a game there. Ben Eyre having a season. CJ Asquan Bird having a good season. David Aquira, big season as well. Campbell Blogg, big season. So we're talking NBL level talent there in their women's side, Ronnie. They are 9-8. Funda Nagasoglu, Georgia Pinot, Britt Smart, Clara Wisher. Again, we're talking players that have been around this league for quite some time that can play to the level. They know what's going on around here. Of course, in the men's, Sandringham, top 3 team. And in fact, they would be number 1, but separated on winning percentage there. So for them, they're looking for a big weekend. Meanwhile, in the women's, Sandringham are 7th. They are 9-8 on percentage, that one game above 500. So a lot to play for both of these sides, Ronnie. Your prediction is a 2-0 for both teams. Yeah,
I think, again, this league is so even. I think any team can win on any given day if you play the right way. And I just have a funny feeling the Chargers can do it. We've seen it time and time again where backs against the wall, they should lose games to teams that they know they should lose to. But in the end, sometimes they flip that and they somehow can pull wins as well too, as the great Will Christie asks.
He may briefly use a phone charger. He has probably 15 minutes at best with a phone charger.
Yes, I was going to say we've probably got about 15 minutes of airtime.
If that.
Yes, we're quickly getting through, so there you go, mate.
We want to provide information, but we want the people to understand that they don't need to get on Noah's Ark 40 days and 40 nights to enjoy it.
Yeah, that's the way.
Thank you, Mr. Christie.
Good to see Will here. He's working hard on his game. Of course, he's one of Stewie's proteges as well too.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Just quickly, Will works hard. He's a pretty much a lab rat around here.
Oh, 100%.
It really is. And again, he's one of those players in the future that could be potentially in that Chargers squad in the next 2 to 3 years, or even maybe in the next 1 to 2 years potentially.
Yeah.
Again, if we blood these young ones through, again, they're the future of our club. So, but in saying that, we want these youngsters that are in the squad right now to step up, and I think they have been. So I'll be really interested to see how they tackle Sandringham, especially the second game of a road doubleheader. I think hopefully they can get it done against Casey. I mean, Casey their record doesn't prove what they're potentially capable of. As I say, 2 tough games, but I feel like it will be a 2-0 victory for your Mackay Timber Hobart Chargers.
Of course, those games once again Saturday night, 6:30 for the women, 8:30 for the men. You can tune in on the NBL1 website using your Bounce Pass account. Get about it. It is a great little function there. And, of course, on the Sunday, 12:30 in the women, 2:30 in the men. Where can they find us, Ronnie? Where can they catch us? Where can they keep up to date?
Oh, absolutely. You can keep up to date with all the goings on here for your Mackay Timber Hobart Chargers by our social media, of course. Like us on Facebook, give us a follow on Twitter, give us a follow on Instagram, and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well, too. Well, we'll make sure we update some of those post-game interviews as well, too. We've been so busy with our other commitments, JB.
Flat stick.
It's been flat stick, but do keep up to date with all the goings on here for your Mackay Timber Hobart Chargers, of course, who... And follow the NBL1 socials as well too. They pump out a fair few things as well too.
Yeah, a little bit going on there, Ronnie. As you mentioned, we've only got the 3 home nights left, 4 different teams. Rolling into town July 7th will be the Mount Gambier Pioneers. As Ronnie mentioned, in the men, that'll be a replay of the South Commons Grand Final. The following night, on the 8th, it will be...
The Keilor Thunder.
It'll be the Keilor Thunder, 5:30, 7:30 starts on the Saturday there. And, of course, the following weekend... Return derby, the Launceston Tornadoes and the Northwest Thunder. Everyone get onto the Chargers NBL1 website. That's hobartchargers.nbl1.com.au. You can find ticket links on that there, or you can go to Try Booking to grab all of those. If you've got young ones who want a birthday party, get on to Try Booking, buy yourself a birthday box.
Yes, absolutely.
Fill them full of cordial, fill them full of chips, and send them off to the grandparents for the weekend.
It's like daycare.
Absolutely, a visit. And they've been pretty popular, mind you. A couple of birthday boxes over the last few weeks.
Yes.
Shout out to Sarah McCauley, who I don't know who the responsible adult was supervising that one there.
I don't know either, JB.
But they were a very passionate crowd of young men enjoying the game there. So good to see them, as it sounds.
He's very frustrated.
Sounds like
the young lad there. Yeah.
A couple of members just in the background there. I don't know how audible that was.
I don't know either.
Nice and clear for us, but no, it was really good to see them being prioritised. All of that crowd's still continuing to pile in, and Ronnie, we have an absolute bumper 3 weeks of basketball here for the Chargers to end what has been an absolutely jam-packed, action-filled, shortened length of the season. I mean, we're still going to get pretty much 20 games in 14 weeks. That is a lot of basketball to be covering.
Absolutely it is, JB. And it's to think we're at June 27 already, and to think, we're all doing our taxes in about a couple of weeks' time, it feels like the year...
Jesus, thanks for the reminder.
Oh, sorry. I feel like the year's flying by. But really looking forward to the next 3 home games coming up. Mount Gambier, the grand final replay. The Mount Gambier women's side, who have got a very good team and have always improved every year to be in the competition so far. Keilor Thunder have an exciting team, and we had probably one of the games of the season back when we played them on the road, and we were watching from here at Swisher on that night. We were doing the charity stuff as well too. That was an unbelievable game to have. And then of course we come to the return derby, and that's going to be an absolute ripper. Coming up between the Tornadoes and the Thunder as well too. I mean, potentially that last home game, that derby could determine a final spot. It could determine spoilers. It could determine anything else you can imagine. So it's going to be really exciting as we go into next week with the lead up to that, but also to the home doubleheader once again. So it's exciting. 20 games in about 14 weeks is, jam-packed, as you mentioned, JB. But I think that's been a much better season as far as, we've how the timelines work now, and we've how the NBL works and whatnot. I really think it's fantastic that we're jamming in many games as possible. We're jamming in a couple of double home headers as well too, which keeps us on our toes most weekends. But to see the excitement around the league and the talent on show just proves that the Coles Express NBL1 South is one of the premier competitions in this country.
Absolutely, no doubt about it, Ronnie. I think that'll I think that'll wrap us up for another week. We wanted to get as much coverage on. We didn't quite know how long we'd go, but it's safer than sorry to be able to listen when we don't know. But next week we will obviously have all the wrap of the road trip, the preview of the last home doubleheader, and then we will be heading into what could potentially be the last episode. Well, I do say next week may be the penultimate episode of the season. And then heading into the derby may very well be the swan song until further notice on that front there. So
Yeah.
it's been a lot of basketball, a lot of coverage going on, Ronnie, and I think we do it just as well as anybody that's running around right now. I will happily break both arms patting ourselves on the back for that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Apologies, I'm just multitasking here. I'm trying to...
That's all right, mate.
Just trying to communicate to one of the lads there. Shout out to Charlie Banks, who was in earlier. I think we can do that on a podcast.
We're allowed to. They never leave.
No,
they're passionate. We never leave you alone, folks. And in saying that, we will now leave you alone. Thank you for tuning in to the Chargers TV podcast. We are back for the final run home of the 2023 Coles Express NBL 1 South season. We'll leave you with a sponsor roll call, and we'll leave you to ice those ears after what may or may not have been some entertaining and hard listening. On behalf of Ronnie Riggs, I'm Justin Bryan. We've somehow reversed the roles in the middle of the podcast. But that's all right. That's how we do it. No worries, folks. We'll talk to you next week. Of course, it would not be possible without our great sponsors across the league, the club, and, of course, the Hobart Sport and Netball Centre. On behalf of the NBL 1, we'd like to thank Coles Express, Zero Relief, Ronnie's favourite car brand, Mitsubishi.
Absolutely. What a car it is, JB.
Everyone's favourite shoe store, Foot Locker. On behalf of the Hobart Chargers, we'd like to thank McKay Timber, Skybus, Swisher Hoops Academy, Bennett's Mood Food, THA, Core Staff Marsh, AD Waterco, SS Glass and Glazing, Kinetic and Callis Hospitality. We'd like to thank again and appreciate our basketball partnerships with Basketball Tasmania and the Tasmanian Jack Jumpers, our media partnerships with the Mercury, 7HO and SEM. We'd also like to thank our player sponsors, Hank Petrusma, EIS Property, Bulk Nutrients, Campbelltown Hotel, Foot Systems, Exercise and Sports Podiatry, Josh Willey, MLC, More Confidence Consulting, Taz Precision Contracting, Pars Heat Pump Centre, D'Angelo's Restaurant and DS Projects. And, of course, on behalf of the Hobart Netball and Sports Centre, we'd like to thank Zambrero and Schweppes Asahi Beverages